Hello, I'm Michael Depp, editor of TVNewsCheck, and this week I'm with David Chu, the co-founder and CEO of Digital Media Rights, and we are talking TV. Talking TV is made possible by Making the Media, a podcast from AVOD exploring the forces that shape the media, news, and entertainment business. The latest episode features AVOD's Craig Wilson interviewing Adam Weiner, Executive Vice President and General Manager of CBS Digital Local Media. They discuss why digital is so critical to Viacom-CBS's strategy for the future. They also talk about how they want to use the value of local news to help the fight against the streaming giants like Netflix. They look at the way CBS is retraining staff to deal with the digital present and future, and what CBS's plans are for moving to more cloud-based working. Making the Media is available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, and other podcast platforms.
Hi, Michael. Great to be here with you.
Hi, David. Welcome. I'm very glad to talk with you this week. We're going to be talking about fast OTT channels, what that means, what the market is, how you're finding a space into this whole, amid the thermonuclear war being waged between superpowers on the streaming front. You have a stealthier, perhaps, path into that. So I'm very interested in talking about that with you. But first, for those who may be unacquainted, can you explain briefly what Digital Media Rights does as a company?
Absolutely. Well, our company, we started this company a little over 11 years ago. We started off as a distribution company into digital streaming platforms, hence the name Digital Media Rights. We don't really do other types of distribution like theatrical or physical distribution. We partner with some of the leading third-party distribution platforms, whether in the US or globally now. And we work with many licensors around the world, and we distribute pretty much every type of content vertical except for news and sports. And we're very strong in international, localized in English for mainstream audiences. So that was the initial business line we started with. And about 8 years ago in 2013, we got into the OTT publishing business. And we started off with two channels, Asian Crush, which is our Pan-Asian mainstream movies and TV channel. And we launched Midnight Pulp, which is kind of genre focused on horror, action, thriller, sci-fi. And since that time, we've now expanded out to 7 services. We're direct to consumer with our applications. We're also now available as a linear experience on multiple FAST platforms. And we've also created 2 additional business lines outside of distribution and OTT publishing. We're very strong in social media publishing, which internally we view really as an additional distribution platform because social media is very much video focused, and our brands are available on multiple social media outlets where we're able to build out our audience, our community, and distribute content in different formats versus long form on OTT and streaming. We also, several years ago, started a digital video advertising network. And what that means is we have built relationships with ad agencies and DSPs and SSPs, basically ad demand partners. And we partner with select publishers and we deliver video ads into their streaming platforms. So that's another one of our business lines. So that's basically digital media rights in a nutshell.
Okay, good. But what I want to focus on are these fast OTT channels. Now, for the uninitiated, can you explain what a fast OTT channel is?
Absolutely. And, if you're not in media, obviously, there's so many acronyms within the industry. Truth be told, a lot of media professionals even get confused as to basic acronyms, even when it comes to OTT or CTV. And now there's FAST, which is basically free advertiser supported television. And what that really means is it's streaming television packaged in a linear experience. And your typical FAST platform has the linear offering where it has an EPG or electronic program guide similar to pay TV. So it's a very comfortable experience interface that users are very familiar with. You have your channel lineup scheduled 24/7 linearly. Some of these channels are live. Some of them are big cable networks that we're all familiar with. And FAST platforms typically also have a separate VOD component. So if you missed a certain show or a film, you can go into the VOD section and look it up. But what's really driving FAST is a linear viewing. And it certainly took, I think, a lot of people by surprise because we all thought linear was dead many, many years ago.
People want that live or that faux live, at least.
That's
they seem to
correct.
be undoubtedly drawn to it. So, okay, you mentioned you have 7 stations. You talked to a couple of them already. What they were. What basically are the other niches that you're covering?
Sure. Well, we have a general entertainment service called Cinehouse. We have an offshoot of that called Cinehouse Selects, which is primarily geared towards art house. We have an anime channel, which we launched a year and a half ago. It's growing very quickly, and that's called Retro Crush. We have a kid service called Kokoro. It's mainly focused between 2 and 11-year-olds. We have a K-pop service, so Korean pop music, which is very popular globally. I think one can make the argument that BTS is the biggest band globally. So that is another one of our services, and it's K-pop. It's also Korean entertainment and variety shows. All these programs are, subtitled in English and very accessible for audiences. I did mention, Asian Crush and Midnight Pulp earlier. So.
Okay, so for each of these offerings, are they available as both AVOD and SVOD to the consumer?
Yeah, that's a good question. So our services are direct-to-consumer applications, which you could download on pretty much every device. We offer them as hybrid services. And what that means is, we want to play in both the advertising side and the subscription side, where audiences, customers can download our apps and watch our programming for free, but with advertising. And for those who choose not to watch ads, basically are super fans, they can subscribe.
And so what is typically that monthly subscription fee?
It's $4.99 per month or $49.99 per year. Okay. And I would have to say our hybrid model is a little different from a true freemium model, where some publishers, they're really pushing subscription. So they'll put maybe the first episode or 2 make it available for free for audiences, and then put everything behind the paywall to really get them to subscribe. We don't do that really, a lot of that windowing, and we just make it available as a hybrid offering. So you have a choice. You can subscribe without ads or watch for free with advertising.
All right. So these sound like very viable niches, but the thing is, they are entering into a marketplace where there is a tsunami of channels and choice in the OTT space overall. So, I mean, the first skeptical question I would have is just about the discoverability factor here. How does anybody find this stuff amid the deluge of choices that they have? How have you cracked the discoverability problem?
That's a great question. And we're always looking to get better and find new customers and audience members. It's certainly gotten a lot more competitive over the years. I look back to the environment in 2013. This is pre-cable networks coming into the OTT space because they're protecting their pay TV business. And basically it was outside of Netflix and Hulu, it was a bunch of independents. And that was a perfect time to capture and grow your brand and scale an audience, pre-cable networks coming in.
Alas, that time has passed though, isn't it?
Alas, that time has passed. And basically every cable network has entered into OTT with their own direct-to-consumer applications. Even all the MVPDs have now gotten their own direct-to-consumer applications, like with Comcast and Xfinity. And as you mentioned, a tsunami of services. There's a lot of Goliaths out there, and certainly we don't compete within that area. And I think that's okay. You know, we are an independent, we're privately owned. We're focused on niche audiences. Discoverability is a challenge because you could take Roku, for example, go into the movies and TV section, which is the most popular section, and Roku still is the most popular device for accessing OTT. And there are thousands of apps that you can choose from. I mean, you cannot, it takes a while to scroll through everything and learn about these apps. So discoverability is key. I certainly am familiar with a lot of publishers over the years where, you know, they have great content. They're not doing as well because it's a discoverability issue where it's a combination. You can't just only have great content. You really have to have a strong marketing strategy in place. You have to allocate a budget towards marketing.
So is that, where are you doing that marketing? On social? I mean, you mentioned social is an important platform as one of the cornerstones of the company. Is that where you find your niche audiences?
And, you know, marketing for us, we do in a multitude of ways. When we first got into social media about 4.5 years ago, we wanted to get into social media to market our OTT services because traditional marketing was too expensive for us. And what we learned quickly is we were able to scale audiences in social media very quickly, and it grew into revenue streams and ultimately their own business lines. So we certainly do marketing there, but one thing you have to note with social is a very mobile focused platform. So you'll have people on their Android or iOS Apple devices, and it's not easy to convert an audience to then go out and download your app on, let's say, Roku or Fire TV, right? And so there is a bit of a disconnect. So we'll get a lot of mobile downloads via our social media marketing efforts. And what we have to do is we have to mix in a combination. We have to do in-platform marketing. And what that means is we work with specific platforms and devices that all have sort of marketing products that we have to buy so that we get discovered. Now, over the years, that pricing has gone up tremendously, where, you know, you take Roku, for example, and there's a lot of marketing products where, you know, you can get your app in front of audiences. And so we still do in-platform marketing with certain set-top box players and also smart TV manufacturers.
Does that end up being the most effective means, do you think?
It's very effective. And, you know, your team still has to execute well. You have to have great creatives. You can, you know, buy the most expensive products, but it doesn't always mean you'll get fantastic results. You have to have, you know, so over time, you know, we've gotten better at this. And, you know, having great creative, of course, you need great content. And, you know, working with your counterparts in the marketing team at these companies so that you can do some targeting because you can target in various ways. So you definitely need to layer in that targeting so that, let's say, for Midnight Pulp, it may appeal to certain audiences that we have data, and then we share that with our counterparts, and we try and market to similar type of audiences on their platform.
So for AVOD to work here, you have to have a kind of scale, and you're working with niche channels, but have you been able to achieve that?
Yeah, so, you know, we've been growing year over year, and I think with niche, you have to understand, there's many examples over the years of niche services that have grown into large brands. Take for instance, Crunchyroll. That was niche at one point, but now we've seen anime is a huge, huge market where Netflix has invested a lot of dollars into anime. Obviously, we've just seen Sony complete the deal to acquire Crunchyroll. You take a look at Viki, which is focused on Pan-Asian. That was niche, and a number of years ago, they got acquired by Rakuten. Excuse the outside noise. We're located in Midtown.
No worries.
You take a service that I've been following called Friendly, very family-oriented platform, which I thought was pretty competitive already, but Friendly over the past 3-4 years, they've scaled very nicely, and with only a few channels. You don't need 50 channels. There's an opportunity to grow your service in light of all the competition if you curate well, you have the right content, you can foster, for us, it's fostering the right type of community. And we do that in combination with our social media efforts.
And are there hosted elements in each of these channels, or is it just a feed of programming with no intermediation?
It's really a curated approach to how we schedule on the playlist for VOD or linearly on FAST platforms, but we don't do hosted. We're not involved in original programming or hosted programming. Maybe at some point in the future we could get into that, but that's a different type of business.
So it's just a question how well you DJ here, if you can make it work.
That's correct. Absolutely.
And are you selling with the AVOD? Are you selling entirely programmatically, or do you have people doing direct sales here?
That's right. So we have in-house ad sales and ad operations. So we sell all of our own inventory.
Okay, so I guess my last question, just overall, the interesting thing about this is is there a meaningful revenue generatable space for niche, and how much niche can this market absorb before we hit how many anime channels? You mentioned Crunchyroll already, which of course was also an early player in OTT, hanging out there with its title, in a lonely space with Netflix and a few others early on. How much room is there for niche going forward?
As somebody who champions niche programmers, niche publishers, in light of all the competition, you have to execute extremely well. You have to acquire the right types of programs. You have to curate. You have to market. And there's certainly a path to success and scalability. It's not easy in this competitive era, but you'll find that, most people are going to have a Netflix subscription. There's data that most households have 2 to 3 subscriptions, and typically it's 2 majors and a niche. And, we hope to simply be one of those niche services. But I think for us, it's not just the OTT path. We couple that in. That's what we do well. That sort of sets us apart from just other pure OTT players, where we do social media very well. We do billions of video views per year across our social media channels. And that really helps us engage with our audience, interact with our audience, foster that type of community and that brand building. I think that's very important to having that sort of well-rounded strategy in growing your brand.
You can't just throw it up there. You've got to build a community. You've got to really mold and hone that.
Yes, and I think of it as all part of the same opportunity where, social is another video platform, but it's interactive. And Michael, you had started off with a FAST question, and I think it ties back to FAST, because how we see the media landscape unfolding with regards to OTT, there are thousands of OTT publishers, and discoverability is becoming more and more challenging. competition has made it more challenging to succeed. And what we see in terms of the growth of fast channels, and look at virtual MVPD platforms like Sling TV, they are onboarding fast channels. They want to play within the advertising space where traditional TV dollars have migrated into OTT and will continue to do so over the next few years. And we're talking billions of dollars here. So there's a strong opportunity on the advertising side. People don't want to miss out. Linear programming or that lean back experience is very popular. It will never go away. And fast platforms have proved that. And so for us, it's important at this period of time for us to strike carriage deals with fast platforms. Because as the industry shakes out, as the industry continues to mature, what you're going to see is a lot of OTT publishers, the smaller ones, fall by the wayside. And discoverability will still be that challenge. And I believe the fast platforms will continue to grow. And you have to be on their dial. It's almost, it's like hearkening back to pay TV, but in streaming form, where if you're not on the cable dial, you don't have an audience. So
what
that's how
around goes around with those dynamics. Exactly. Well, David Chu, Digital Media Rights, I'm going to let you get back into the fray, fighting the good fight for niche. And thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Michael. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers. A new episode of Talking TV is available most Fridays on TVNewsCheck.com. You can also listen and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and Spotify. Talking TV is edited by Alyssa Wesley. The music is by Andrew Melenda, and it's produced and hosted by me, Michael Depp. Talking TV is a production of TV News Check.